Hi. It's okay. It is Monday. It's just after 7 o'clock, and I'm just guessing because my watch is dead. We've got cameras that aren't cooperating. We are all in various states of disability here with colds and other illnesses. We are a mess. A mess. Your mic is not on, sir. You wait your turn. Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. Also, I would say the most diverse conservative podcast in politics. Your host, as always, Jonny Torres. Your mics are not on, gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching the show. Don't forget, you can join us live right now on Clubhouse if you want to chime in throughout the show. We will bring you onto the show just like you would call into a radio show. Look for us on Clubhouse by either Jonny Torres or search for the room, The Yard Sign. And then also, if you happen to miss the live show, you can also download the audio version of our podcast over at the Tech Overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. For today's topics, we are doing Trump's digital truth, talking about Trump's social media platform that he's launching. We'll talk not only the technology behind it, but also some of the boundaries and the financials of it. Believe it or not, we're going to hit on all sides of Trump's new digital platform that you may have heard of. And doggone it, Fauci, if he is not fired by the end of the week, I honestly, I don't know what else to do with this administration. It turns out that the NIH, I believe, or some research facility that we've been giving money to has been testing sand fleas on beagles, and it's just an awful situation. And guess who's behind it? None other than our very own Dr. Fauci. So we'll touch on that. Biden's Titanic agenda continues to not only sink the country, but sink his approval numbers. There is a lot going on. I mean, if you thought last week was bad, this week is only getting worse. We'll talk about what continues to happen economically, and also the migrant caravan that is coming around the corner. All right. And H-wRECk, we're going to bring it home as we always do to Hillsborough County. As a matter of fact, I'll be on Bay News 9 later tonight through television magic, talking about the Hillsborough County Republican Party, their letter that they were given to, a little slap on the wrist by the Florida Republican Party, and how they pretty much just ignored it. And decided to move on despite it. All right, so we'll pick all that apart tonight. Joining me, as always, these lovely gentlemen. To my right, that would be Joe, Wicker, and Anibal, David Cabrera. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello?
Are we allowed to speak now?
You may speak now. Yes, thank you.
I felt very
Is it
censored.
democracy? What do you think?
No, really.
It's
It's
your
not
show.
democracy. It's your show.
It's your world, man. I'm
Yeah,
just living in
we're
it.
just here.
There we go.
We don't
I
get
like
paid or
it.
anything.
I like
It's
that
fine.
attitude. Well, welcome back. Good to have the gang back together. Plenty to talk
Is he
about.
still talking to us?
Yes, now I'm talking to you.
Oh, okay.
Hence the mics are on now.
Speak when spoken to.
I
That's right.
apologize.
Anibal.
I apologize.
You will speak when spoken to.
I'm not used to this kind of dictatorship.
Well, this is how you. We are going to try to run a show on time today. Okay, that is the goal.
We need a
Okay.
timer.
Lindsay's going to
That's all
help
we need.
here with the timing. I'm also sort
Let's
of
just cut a
timing.
brother off. Like,
I'm just really disappointed.
Anyways, so let's go ahead and jump into today's first topic. Trump kind of, there's a lot of interesting dynamics to this because this had been rumored for a long time. There had been a rumor even while he was in office that he was going to start a digital media, actually it was just a media company of some kind, to maybe compete with Fox News. And then when the Twitter ban happened, of course, rumors started to circulate about him starting his own social media platform, to subvert Twitter and the other platforms that were banning him, banning free speech, right?
Yeah,
banning conservatives, really. Actually, to that extent, we continue to see it even today with these young rappers who've been putting out songs about "Let's Go Brandon." They are.
It's not even that they're banning conservatives. They're basically just banning and filtering anything that's anti-Democrat
Correct.
party.
Right.
or anti-administration.
And they're trying to throw it under the guise of misinformation or COVID or whatever. That's so Trump launched, or at least they announced that the Trump organization was merging with the company. It's Digital World. I forget what
it's a SPAC. It's called Digital World Acquisition Group.
Correct.
But it's just a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But they basically take like a penny stock that's already listed on the exchange.
Correct.
And they just buy that up, and then that becomes the entity. They rename it, and then they go and do the thing they wanted to do, which in this case is raise money to start Trump's social media platform.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you have to go through all this regulatory stuff, as they should, in order to take a company public.
Yeah.
And to do that, without any real assets and sales.
Well, you have to disclose where the money's coming from.
Exactly.
And you still have to do all of that as well.
Yeah.
The benefit of a SPAC is that it's already in the system, so you're able to
They just can get in there.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time this has happened. It's been happening for almost 2-3 years now. How prevalent this has become.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of the new thing.
Yeah, and as of the first day, I think when they started talking about this, when they officially announced, it jumped like 400%, almost raised. It went from.
Yeah, I was late.
We actually
party. I was late coming to that party.
Thanks to our first class producer over here, we have we don't have it yet. Oh, we do. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pull up the DWAC's opening week here. Now that we're
you're gonna show me how much money I did make.
Which, funny enough, I was
all I had to do was buy on Thursday. I'd have been straight.
Well, I was telling Lindsay. So when I bought Facebook, I bought it like when the buyer's remorse happened.
Oh,
which
like
was
a month after?
Yeah. When everybody started to panic.
Didn't it start at 40?
It started at 40 when buyer's remorse set in and people started to panic because they weren't sure how's Facebook going to make money.
Right.
That's when I jumped in, and I got in at like $25.
Wow. Nice.
Now, I didn't buy anywhere near as much as I should have.
Yeah,
which will be my greatest regret in life.
Of course, yeah.
Well, this is your world. I'm very surprised you didn't buy more.
Yeah. Well, and part of it was also, having the expendable income to buy more, really, honestly. Because,
talk to people.
I should have dissolved everything I had and just thrown everything into it. But so we're looking at, here we goes, the 5-day chart.
Yeah.
And, we can see, so it came out the 21st. Started at about $10. Peaked at what? What was the peak there? If you can,
it's like 170. It was like 100 and
there we go. 131 peaked over there.
It says that, but
see, and I think
not.
And I think
that's the peak.
It was DeBras.
And I think it's going to drop. I think it will drop. I think it'll drop back down. Right now, it's at $83. I think it'll drop back down, probably somewhere into the $40 to $50 range.
You think so?
And I think that's going to be the time to jump in, because it'll stabilize from there.
And it's not just something to compete with Twitter. It's also going to open up on all the branches.
Yeah. Now, full disclosure, I have no background in finance and financial investment or anything. But look, I'll say this: I've good stock in Uber. I have good stock in Facebook. Like they say, buy what you know.
That's a Buffett.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett. That's what he says. If you don't know what it does or how it makes money, then don't invest.
Right.
But that's my concern with this in general. Is that, do you believe? Okay, because before they can become profitable, they have to be selling advertising and data.
To monetize.
And data, right?
It's going to take a while before they start making money.
In order to sell the data and to have a bunch of advertising, you have to have users.
Yeah.
And in order to have users on a social media platform, there's a lot of things that have to happen that I'm not an expert on. But when you think of Facebook, what's really driving a lot of that activity is the controversies, right? So you have broad acceptance of the platform amongst both Republicans, conservatives, independents, and it doesn't, you name it, men, women, old and young now.
Right.
It's a Trump platform. I like that they're calling it Truth Social. I like that it's a T and it's a blue background. Like, I kind of like what they're doing. They're spoofing Facebook a little bit.
Sure.
And the idea is that, okay, we're not gonna censor you like everybody else does,
But they are.
But we think they will.
Well,
they
see,
are.
'cause of-
But
Within the
without
the
Democrats,
language.
but look, Democrats are going to boycott it because every Democrat's going to, like, from just a popularity
But see, I don't think
standpoint,
they will.
They're going
I
to
think
view it
you're-
as anti-Trump. They're just going to view it as like, oh, that's Trump's social media. Don't be on there.
Yeah, but you're going to
know?
have your Democrats that are literally going to go into there because the full Fight Club mentality. They're
You
going to
think
jump
so?
in there.
Yeah.
You think
They're
so?
going to jump in there
I
to
hope
cause
so.
chaos. I mean, you've already
Good.
had
That's what you want then.
the test
because-
site was apparently already hacked. There was allegedly a test site that was already hacked, and there was all kinds of negative things posted, about Trump and that sort of thing. And so when we're talking about censorship, apparently one of the rules are going to be that you can't talk negatively about Trump or I guess about the Trump organization.
Bro, come on now.
And so right there off the bat, that's a
Come
big red
on,
flag.
bro.
That's a big red flag.
That makes no
wouldn't-
sense to me.
And that wouldn't
makes no
surprise
sense to me.
But if you think about it, think about our friends who are hardcore Trump supporters, right? What's their biggest gripe? You mention the slightest thing against him
If that's
or negative
true,
about
then
him,
I'm already
and they
like,
lose it. Right.
Okay.
Right. It
There's-
defeats the purpose.
It's
right?
not going to make money then.
Now
How
to
can
your
you-
other point is that this isn't like early social media. This isn't 20 years ago.
Right.
Okay. This has to be good. This
Yeah.
product has to be
Yeah.
built well.
Yeah,
Hector
right.
just said that in
right.
the comment section. How
Yeah.
well is it going to be user friendly? And I'm like, it's going to have to be extremely user friendly. You're
Exactly.
not given the leeway that you were given 10, even 5 years ago.
Look at some of the other stuff that's come out. Parler, for example. And
Like,
that's going to be the
yeah.
only example I can use
Yep,
because I've
yep.
used Parler.
I actually never thought it was user friendly, to be honest with
It
you. I don't know
wasn't.
why. I don't
Correct.
even know why. Like, it was
Correct.
just like,
It wasn't. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a cheap kind of knockoff of Twitter. And if that's kind of
Yeah.
where this like opened this
Yeah.
if that's the first iteration of what we get, they're going to lose day one.
yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're not going to have
Yeah.
time to fix it, but it's going to be really hard to get those early adopters back once you've lost them.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking purely, not political, just from a purely technological
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah, sure.
And remember, and I think that's something else that we're forgetting is that Parler, at its peak, only had 2.8 million users. So I think when people talk about like, oh,
Really?
how many users are people?
Really?
Yeah, I just Googled it.
I thought they ended up
And
getting
so-
like 1 million visitors and 1 million users like in one day when that whole ban thing.
I'll say this. That
Anyway,
I think there
whatever.
is still enough room for additional media, tech media to jump into these
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of categories. I really do believe
course.
it. I mean, Twitter only has 70 million users. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
a US users. So it's not. And again, and a lot of people talk about how Twitter is not reality.
Well, and a perfect example is Pinterest, where Pinterest is not plateaued, but the growth has certainly been very slow here in the United States.
those people use it.
But internationally,
It is
it has
their
just
users.
skyrocketed. Internationally,
Really?
it has blown up. And so that's really where there's potential here,
Yeah.
especially, again, given the political leanings of what this platform is going to have.
I wonder if that's
and
their
what's happening
maybe that's
globally.
their plan.
Pinterest has
Will they-
almost half
will-
a billion users.
Will
Yeah.
will they not like, I understand if there has to be a prospectus, right?
Yeah.
There has to be a prospectus,
Well,
right?
and
It's a
so-
publicly traded.
Yeah.
company.
And,
So
and so the
I
big
wonder
thing,
what are they saying is their
Well, the big speculation
Deal.
is what conservative talent. Initially, I think all your big conservative mouthpieces out there are going to jump onto this,
Sure,
right,
sure,
and start to build their presence on there.
Yep.
But he's going to have to acquire some of this content to be native on that platform. Like he's going to
Right,
have to make
right.
this the headquarters for some of these conservative voices, for him to really draw in these people. So, again, like you're talking about,
Which they're going to have to pay for that.
sure. I mean, you're talking about Ben Shapiro has a stable of talent at Daily Wire. You're talking about what Turning Point's doing. You're seeing, your Benny Johnsons and again, Brokeback Patriot. You're seeing
just
Scott
got their
Pressler.
page
You
back
got-
on.
I mean, they're going to basically have to form very beneficial relationships to these
Yeah.
conservative voices to really motivate them to bring their audiences with them.
Correct.
Now, some of them are going to do it anyways because to do it in support of Trump. But again, it's gonna. They have to have a really solid roadmap to make this a success, because it is going to be polarizing. And yeah, the majority, it's going to be an echo chamber, I think, for the most part.
Which Twitter has almost become now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, Twitter, nobody talks to anybody on Twitter anymore. It's mostly one-way communication. People just post stuff. And if you do get any kind of response, it's usually negative. And so in that light, I think given the censorship that is happening, again, if they are more lenient than Twitter's being, and YouTube and Facebook, and then I could see people gravitating towards a platform that is for more free speech. Where it's going to get tricky is like, okay, well, if I can't
talk about the president negatively,
yeah, right, exactly. I mean,
that makes no sense.
Yeah, out of the gate, you're already kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
My understanding is the whole thing is that, yeah, there just needs to be a platform out there where people, Republican, Democrat, whoever, can just engage. I mean,
right.
And unless you're not trying to engage in, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, like, unless you're just not, you can't use it, for criminal enterprise,
collecting paperwork.
But stop with the fact checking everybody and pictures and quotes and everything. Like, look, people have been stupid for a long time.
Well,
what are we,
Joe, are you gonna join the Truth Media Twitterverse? I don't even know how to call it. The social media.
Would I join it?
Would you join it?
I would join it. I would join it to see what it is. Of course, I have a buddy of mine that I asked about this, who's in finance, and he was looking at how they mentioned that they were trying to raise like 800 and something million for the acquisition, to run this thing. Mm-hmm. And his comment right off the bat was just kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's enough money to run. I don't think that's enough money for a media company. Like, media is very expensive.
Well, we don't know
expensive.
what this is going to look like. Is it going to look more like Facebook? Is it going to look like Twitter?
It's going to look like all the above. From
his concern was that real media assets are more expensive than that.
Right.
At a level that's worth anything.
But you also got to think,
So,
like,
I don't know.
YouTube doesn't pay for content.
Right, but
like for the most
right,
part. I mean,
right.
they have some stuff that they
right,
make
but
on
think
their own.
right. I got you on that, but think about it. They're starting from scratch, so they're going to have to buy a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And so then the question becomes, and my concern is that a lot of people would jump. It's like the rich political candidate. Mm-hmm. A rich political candidate shows up. Everybody knows they have money, so people want to be involved. There's no shortage of vendors and contractors and consultants and people that are that are people that want to work with it because they know they can just make money. But there's no long term. There's really no long-term plan there.
No, and that's the thing. You look at Facebook and what it is today, which is Messenger,
right?
Facebook itself, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, and all of the competition that it's basically snuffed out.
Right, but they bought those things. They bought those to shut down the competition. They bought what they believed in to use, and then they shut down the other stuff. But I don't see how Truth Social starts off by buying up other companies.
No.
So they're going to start their own.
My point is,
I don't think they're buying other companies.
No, they're not.
But my point, to what you were saying,
they're buying Trump's media company.
My point to reinforce what you're saying is that there's a very expensive technology that's been developed or acquired by Facebook, by Google, that is going to make it really hard for them to be competitive.
I guess my point is this. Uber, I remember a couple of years ago, I haven't even paid attention to it, but I remember an article came out a couple of years ago where Uber had burned $900 million that year.
Right.
Just burned it. That was their negative.
That
was their negative.
They're still
have a high burn rate.
Okay. Is Truth Social going to burn $800 million quickly? And if so, how quickly? Like, are they going to go through $850 million in the first 12 months? Because if so, guess what? That means that it's over. It's going to be over in 12 months. It's not going to survive.
That doesn't mean that at all. The burn rate at Uber is because of the high rate of physical technology and physical assets that were needed to purchase and people to be able to execute the transactions and writability of the company. That's the reason why it costs
technology
much.
company.
No, Uber,
And
but Uber still has to pay its drivers. You actually think it costs $6 to go from
Okay,
someone's
okay.
house to the stadium? No, Uber is paying. There's an
fair
additional
enough. Okay.
charge.
All right,
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough. So you're saying
subsidized.
a large part of Uber's revenue is going right back out. I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying that we can't make these kind of comments until we see what the report even looks like. I'm going to say that they could probably burn through it. There was a number like $847 million that was generated because of the increase because of what happened. I wouldn't be surprised if that takes that the burn rate to build, it will probably take much longer than 12 months. And again, if you keep on raising money like the way they did, then you can build more and more.
But I'll close on this. The only ones who should really be afraid here isn't Twitter and Facebook and Google and these social media companies. It's OAN,
Yes.
Fox News, the
Yeah.
Daily Wire.
I don't even think Fox News. I think Daily. I think the other two. Yes, I don't think Fox.
Well, remember-
Fox is a legacy. That's much different compared to the other
But
ones.
remember,
right.
this started Digital World Acquisition Corp or whatever it's called. That SPAC was created to buy the assets of Trump Media or whatever. Remember, he already created his own media organization. So they're taking that over. And I mean, like you said, if they're going to go into TV, as ironic as this sounds, I feel like they have a better shot at going into one of the older technologies like just TV, starting a TV channel,
And then branching out, and then building out from there.
than they do trying to take down Facebook.
But it'll be cheaper to do it because we know podcasts that are on YouTube that have bigger audiences than Don Lemon. It's possible. And as soon as you get the media behind,
Well, and a platform like Twitter is very inexpensive to run.
extremely inexpensive.
And so it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. But do I think this is like a long-term financial investment? I don't think so. I think
I don't want to be Debbie Downer on it. I want it to succeed. I'm just sitting here thinking about Trump steaks and Trump wine
There
and
you
Trump
go.
ties.
Trump
and
wine,
Yeah.
surprisingly very good.
I'm just sitting here thinking about that
Still
stuff.
exist?
Yes.
Now
Trump
keep it
wine
now.
still
Now,
exists.
now here's why I bring that up. Not to put it's hold on. I got to get this out. I'm not putting down Trump and his business acumen because Trump was not running those organizations. Those were licensing deals that Trump did, and other people were running those companies.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Someone wants to make sure they
So-
still get invited to Mar-a-Lago.
Right. Never been. Don't know if I'll ever make it. But my concern is this. Okay, Trump is 4?
Yeah.
75. He's not going to be running the day-to-day operations of Truth Social. Who is going to be running this company? Do these people know what they're doing? And are they going to just take Trump's name, take Trump's money, and run this thing until the money dries up and Trump walks in and says it's not working, get rid of it? Because think about it. I mean, dude,
Well, that's the
ties,
thing, and
you can't sell. I mean,
we're obviously going to follow it closely, but my fear is that they're going to get the wrong people in there that don't know what they're doing, and they're going to build a crap product, and this is going to be a flash in the pan.
it's like when Trump had a tower in Tampa. And it went bankrupt. Now, of course,
But it wasn't his. Yeah.
it was never his.
never
And everybody's
his,
like,
right.
"Oh, Trump, this bankruptcy, that bankruptcy, that bankruptcy." Guys, these are different companies that sign licensing deals with Trump to put his name on the thing to help with sales and marketing. That's it. That's got nothing to do with Trump's business ability.
Let's wrap it up. I will say this. In the comment section, Hector has been to the vineyards for the Trump wine in Charlottesville, and I agree with you. It's amazing. I've been there as well, and it's really good wine.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody, for watching The Yard Sign. We appreciate you. We do this every Monday night just after 7 o'clock. Jonny Torres, your host. Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker joining me on the panel today. Again, plenty to talk about. Now, we're going to go into what is an unfortunate and sensitive subject. We'll try to spare you some of the gory details.
I want to hear it.
here, but
I sent you the article. Have you not read it?
Was there homework?
Yes, it was. Oh, this. Okay.
There was homework.
all right.
We're not having
So
this conversation.
in addition to the NIH and now admitting to the fact that that Fauci was, or at least this laboratory that was being funded by Fauci and hence our taxpayer dollars, was doing gain-of-function research. It has also come out in this investigation that apparently they were doing animal testing and experimentation on some of the work that they were doing as well, specifically beagles that were...
Beagles are cute, dude.
Yeah, and I don't know why specifically beagles, but apparently they were tied down, to these cages. There's pictures online if you choose to look at that sort of thing. But there was talk about one particular experiment where they were allowing for sandflies basically to eat at these beagles, and again, I don't know that it's necessary to go any deeper into the details of what they were or weren't trying to figure out there. But it goes back to, why is this guy still in office? Like, I'm surprised Trump didn't get rid of him when he could have.
People are afraid to fire him because they think that firing him makes them seem like anti-science or something. Like, this dude has a monopoly on being a scientist.
And I think at this point he's lost all credibility.
Yeah, he should have been gone a long time ago.
And it's funny because, again, one of the podcasts that Anibal and I listened to, pointed out, like, why is Disney giving this guy a documentary? To basically kind of portray himself as some sort of hero or know-it-all, or, because, look, history is turning real quick on him.
Yeah,
real quick.
And it is getting ugly.
When PETA is upset with you as a Democrat, I'm very surprised. And their like headline was Fauci blessed feeding puppies heads to flies. Like, that's literally what their commentary is. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
They
Well, how is Facebook going to handle
and
this,
they
right?
tolerate far less.
How are they going to? How's Facebook going to handle it?
Sure.
Are you going to tag misinformation on this stuff too now?
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you right now.
Because that
Well, they've
headline
defended him for a long
because
time.
the headline sounds inflammatory, right? But maybe that's literally what happened.
You don't. Okay, so when you do a quick Google search of the news articles just for this topic, no CNN, no MSNBC,
Of course.
no none of the other big letter
people
companies
are-
besides
they're such
the
garbage.
first
One of
one
the
is
three-letter broadcast
The first one is the
networks, yeah.
Washington Post, which is opinion, Fox News, PETA, and then like the New York Post, the Independent, Yahoo News,
When
Florida
conservatives
Politics.
and PETA are like getting along, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you messed up.
Newsweek and The Hill. I'm sorry, but it's so fascinating that you don't see any of the big ones.
Well, the
talking about it.
political outlets are going to cover it, right, for
Eventually,
obvious reasons,
eventually.
right? So the Hill, and you said the
Yeah,
Hill
but you don't see any of the big letter companies.
But I think PETA for sure is not going to let up on this, especially when they get worked up for far less.
Yeah, they do.
And rightfully so. Again,
I didn't know
this guy's been on the
stuff
wrong
like that was
side.
legal still. Like
But
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised the government was doing something like that. But I just didn't.
But this goes back to the point about where our taxpayer dollars are going. If we don't trust China with our intellectual property,
Right.
If we don't trust them with their military functionality, with their military capabilities, right? Which now we know we've had our eye off the ball in that regard.
Right,
with this
right.
missile that's circled
Yeah, right,
the orbit,
right. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, they're busy
Why are
over
we
there.
giving them millions of dollars in research grants to basically develop bioweapons?
I think it's the same reason why. And look, I still think America's the greatest country on earth, but sometimes we have other people do our dirty work for us because we say it's against our values, but we still want it done.
Sure.
So this reminds me of like how the CIA, was using other countries like Saudi Arabia to conduct terrorism interrogations, right? And apprehending terrorists around the world, interrogating them, and the Saudis don't care. They're like, hey, we'll torture them, and we'll bring them to Riyadh. We'll torture them. We don't care. And it's kind of like America turned a blind eye to it because it was beneficial to us at the time.
Well, it's not happening within our borders,
right? We're not willing to do it, but we're fully prepared to pay somebody else.
Right,
to do
we're
it.
against child slave labor,
Unless,
but if it's happening in China or Vietnam or Taiwan or India, then
we turn a blind eye to it.
Sure, yeah.
The concentration camps of the Uyghurs in China.
Yeah, bring me those Air Jordans.
And like you said, we're funding gain of function research because the United States probably just doesn't want to engage in that research, either A, because we kind of feel like it's wrong, or B, we actually don't want that like in our borders. Like
So
maybe there's certain viral research we don't even want happening.
I'll push back
here.
on that, and the reason why I push back is because the last 2 administrations have told the NSH not to do that. When you have the and this is one of the few things that I agree with when it came to the Obama administration, they told him not to do this. They told him not to allow this to happen. And they're like, they're like, this is a little bit too much. Don't do it. And Fauci, Dr. Fauci, has been constant trying to get this done. He's been writing reports. He's been writing opinion pieces. You can find this again, The Hill, and now Breaking Point, right?
And it even looks
has
it even
really
looks
done
like,
a lot of has done a great job. And the Interceptor have done great jobs releasing this information of how much Fauci has done to get gain of function in. And now, when you read the Ron Paul and him when they go back and forth, it's like you're just spinning, you're just dancing, you're not answering the real question.
It even looks like they're trying to use these nonprofits and these NGOs, non-governmental organizations. It almost looks like they're trying to use these organizations to distance the government from it, right? Yeah. The government's getting like grant money, or there's money coming in, tax dollars, then it goes over to the, HHS, then it goes to NIH. Then NIH gives grant.
Well, it goes to all these universities, all these colleges.
Yeah,
all these,
they give out this money, and then there's
governments.
And then they give this grant money to this organization, and then this organization ends up giving money to the lab in China, who's then doing X, Y, and Z, and then eventually the data from all that's going to make its way back to the real customer, which is the United States government.
Right.
And so, if we did this, the Chinese are the ones that were, screwed up and let the virus out, but did we finance it?
Yeah.
And if we did, let's just be honest about what happened.
We certainly financed probably a majority of it.
Let's just be honest about that.
Even though it did, I wouldn't put it past that the virus at the end of the day came out of a lab in China, and I wouldn't put it past.
Well, that's almost practically been confirmed.
But I wouldn't also put it past that American money was used to fund that laboratory, which we also know it's true. So again, why continue to lie? Fauci, this is now his 3rd or 4th time he's been caught in a lie. People have gone to jail for lying to the Congress. People have gone. A president was almost impeached because of it.
He should be held in contempt.
I think something that people.
I think someone will.
He lied under oath in Congress.
Someone will.
But that apparently that never seems to matter. I don't know, but
unless you're the lawyer for Trump,
or unless you're like a baseball player and you're lying about steroids or something. Here's what I think is happening though, from kind of like the way we view things like that. So this gain of function research that they're doing on viruses, right? I could see people within the United States government, scientists and whatnot, actually believing that we're doing this research to learn and protect ourselves from these types of things, right? Okay, we need to learn how to protect ourselves from this. If this happens, when things jump from animals to humans, how do we develop vaccines quickly? We have this new RNA. I could see people within the U.S. Scientific community saying we need to do this research so that we can understand how to counter these issues, because we're in a more global because of globalization and the way that pandemics, the way things spread, right? Yeah. Things aren't left to just localities anymore. I could see them kind of saying that and then being like, but federal regs and we're not really allowed to do this. So how can we do this? Hold on one second. So I can see them kind of playing loose with the money to try to get this research done, even if they're doing it like in for what they think is a good cause. But here's what people are missing, right? And I think average everyday Americans forget it. I think our leadership forgets it. That is not the way the Chinese or the Russians or I'm trying to think, of countries. That's not the way they view it. To a lesser degree, the Arab states, this is not the way they view this stuff. Yeah. If the Chinese realize, well, now what is this? Oh, it's gain of function. Oh, and it can do this. Well, how bad does that hurt people? And we're over here, scientists, well, we're trying to discover what this might do. The whole time that's happening, the Chinese are like, sure, we'll research it. Yeah. We would love to understand what this could do. Right. Because in the back of their mind, they're viewing it like, could this be a bioweapon? Everything that they can take, they're going to take.
Exactly.
And they're happy to do research for us on stuff like this, because while we're trying to figure out how to prevent pandemics, they're trying to figure out how they can, kill people, maybe give this to the Muslims in their country. I mean, the Chinese, they're evil. When
It would have
comes to
been
that
like
stuff.
it would have been like us developing, space engineering, during the space race with the Russians.
Yeah.
It's like we're basically empowering them with the tools that they need.
They want to weaponize space. We're just trying to get to the moon. These guys are trying to figure out how they can put nukes over how they can just put nukes over the U.S.
Yeah.
We're naive in that regard. We're very naive. It's like we forget that these people do not have good intentions.
What do we have in the comment section?
Okay, I advise everyone to go to the comment section right now.
Yeah.
Because Fred is blowing up the comment section
Nice.
and it's enjoying it. If someone wants to read the bioweapon comments were
Fauci
mentioned.
is a bioweapon.
Scroll up a little bit though of Fred's first comment. Read it out loud.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, we haven't even touched on his history, which is, the history that he has with AIDS research, and his involvement with that.
That's I don't even
again,
wanna go
like
there.
how is this guy, been able to again maintain this role, this prominence, among the scientific and medical
community. He's been an admin and he's been in government research forever. Those people don't lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And again,
Right.
now it's so funny. It took, what was it? It took the governor of New York, after 20, 30 women coming forward for
Right.
him to resign. Not the like 40 to 50,000 people that
Well,
died
if
under
puppies
his
don't
watch.
take down Fauci,
Exactly.
nothing will.
Like that's
I
what's
mean-
gonna happen, and that's the sad part of it. It's either him touching a kid or killing a dog.
A kid wouldn't do it at this point.
Well,
I think
and no,
puppies
you're right.
might do it.
but like that's how perverted it's.
And
it's
sadly,
not.
it would have to be the public sentiment within the United States, because we hold dogs. I would say maybe in
Be careful where you're
We
going
do.
with this.
We
no,
do.
we hold dogs in
Yes.
much
Oh,
higher
no, we-
regard
we-
than in other countries.
We
Oh
do,
no! Some people
absolutely.
they consider
Absolutely.
them children. They consider their own their offspring.
Yeah, but that,
is
again,
their
that's a
animals.
very new kind of thing, even
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
country. But most countries still don't consider dogs,
Well, because
to be
because animals used to be
an
when
extension
we-
of their family.
Well, when we
Correct.
were in a more agrarian society, animals were for work, and animals
Sure.
are bred for a purpose.
For work and security
They're all
and,
bred for a purpose,
sure.
and now we don't use them for that purpose. I
Right.
mean, nobody gets a Dachshund because they want to hunt badgers.
yeah, right.
Nobody's nobody's
Beagles are
raising
divine. Beagles
Dachshunds
are
to hunt
divine.
badgers.
Fred, you are killing it in the comment section.
Beagles are divine. That's
Well, we
what I
should've
forgot. Fred's a beagle.
Well, we
guy,
should have
yeah.
Jody on the show. Jody's a big
Yeah.
beagle rescuer.
I'm surprised I didn't hear more comments from her.
Yeah.
Because either she's heading to Fauci's
So-
house right now.
So here's what's crazy. Here's what's
That's
crazy to
why.
me though, because you
She
mentioned
put on some diapers, some adult diapers.
You mentioned
headed
Fauci
north.
and AIDS, and here's what's crazy to me. Like, do you remember when, like in the '90s, maybe early 2000s, like Farrakhan would come on TV? He'd like go on Oprah or something, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's Farrakhan, right? Like, it's just like, oh, dude, like you're watching for entertainment value,
Sure.
but like you're not.
You know the
taking this-
crazy's coming.
Yeah. No one's taking that seriously.
No one's taking this serious, right? And, he would say things like, oh, the government instituted crack into the black community. The government, pushed AIDS and this, that, and the other. And when you would hear those things and you'd be like, dude, like, come on, like, that's crazy. Like, it's crazy talk.
Yeah.
And now it's like, wait a minute. I'm not saying that they did, but like, it's almost like, but regardless of what did happen in the 80s, Fauci probably lied about it. Like, maybe he wasn't, I'm not saying he was, infecting people or doing something
Well, think about it. We
bad.
didn't
I'm
have-
saying whatever was happening, if there was any negative light that could have been shown onto the NIH, he would have lied about it.
Well, think about it. We didn't have Freedom of Information Act, where you could request,
Right.
federal documents the way we do now.
Right.
And honestly, I hope that some journalist out there who's trying to make a name for themselves goes deep into these documents, because I have a very, very sneaking suspicion that this guy's been up to no good for a long time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When Farrakhan or when people like Alex Jones start making sense, you're like, what is happening?
Sure. All right.
That's always the worst one when Alex Jones starts to do it. I will say this, though. What's going to occur in regards to Dr. Fauci is the fact that a lot of these additional sponsorships and these additional deals and everything else that are coming down the pike are going to get removed. This just blew up like today, yesterday.
Yeah.
And you're going to see
grants,
it takes
you mean like the money and the grants?
Well, no, I'm going to say that the money that has been sent his way, like the documentary from Disney, I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I will also say this, that Hector had a really good point that on the Crystal Ball's commentary a few days ago, she was talking about how Washington is the perfect place for people to fail upwards. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people.
sure.
in
We
that
see it
part.
all the time.
We see it in education.
Because
we
they
see
know
it
where
in
the bodies
healthcare,
are buried.
and that's the biggest problem. That these people...
It's about the relationships and the cronyism.
How on earth are you in DC for almost 50 years, and you still can't get shit done? That's insane.
Yeah. Well, and to close out on that topic, you know, the thing is that I think the main reason why Fauci remains to be a figure politically is because if the Biden administration were to all of a sudden, quote unquote, lose faith in him and get rid of him, I think what that would do to the overall movement of vaccination, which they continue to press very hard on, I think loses all ground traction.
Right.
I think they lose complete credibility and they lose complete traction on the vaccination front, and that's what they're afraid of, because that's all that right now. That's all they care about.
You prove if Fauci goes down, you prove that Trump was right. You prove that Trump was right, and they're not going to do it.
Right.
There's a lot of Democrats that are not going to let Orange Man be good. That's just not going to happen, and that's the problem. Exactly. The fact that we are inside our silos and they're not willing, they're hurting the country. And eventually someone has to stand up.
You don't think that the Biden administration could somehow come out like, well, you don't think Fauci could come out and say, you know what, the vaccine's out, it's deployed, it's going good, we're at 75%. I'm 35
That would be the
years,
only
I'm
way
retiring.
to get rid of him without them losing.
Like,
power.
I've done 35 years, I'm retiring.
If it gets if the pressure is high enough, he will retire by the end of the week or by the end of the month.
So that the problems just go away.
But based
rod.
on people who know him and have been around him for a long time, they say that he loves being in the public eye.
Yeah.
He loves being the face of this pandemic. He loves being on TV. He loves the media attention. So I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. All right. Thank you to everybody for watching The Yard Sign, the most important, relevant podcast in politics. Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker joining me. And don't forget, you can catch the audio version of our podcast just about everywhere. The Tech Overlords allow: Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. Odyssey as well, actually. So you can find us on Odyssey if that happens to be one of your preferred platforms. And then we're in Clubhouse. If you want to join us live over on Clubhouse, you can join the conversation. Just hop into the room, search Jonny Torres. You can follow me there, or look for The Yard Sign as a room right now as we are broadcasting. And we can bring you in as a caller like you would call into a radio station. So we'd love to have you join the conversation. All right, tonight's topics continue as we touch on now perfect transition to Biden's Titanic agenda. And you got to wonder what's worse, either his agenda or his handling of the agenda and the nation at large, contributing to disastrous poll numbers as his numbers continue to just crater. I believe his approval rating is, we're talking about is lower than it has been for any president in decades.
What is it now?
It is below 38%. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, Lizzie, can you look that up?
That picture actually makes him look a little bit like a fighter. I mean, it's better than the typical like deer in the headlights look, right?
Yeah.
Normally it's the deer in the headlights.
Well, whenever he frowns, he
looks focused right
He
there.
looks like the puppet that one comedian uses.
Yes. Yes.
Which I've used that picture for us.
Yes. Yes.
But we're talking about this infrastructure bill, this reconciliation bill, and also the migrant crisis that is not only happening but is going to get worse because they have just announced camera one, Lindsay, that they're going to go back to the Remain in Mexico. Trump's Remain in Mexico policy is going to be reinstated, and so now what that's causing is Taco Bell's quote unquote run for the border.
Right.
You know, where, I mean,
If you don't get in the next couple
yeah.
of weeks, you're not getting in.
yeah, basically, because they're going to say you're going to have to wait it out in Mexico.
Right.
And so now there's videos from the southern border of Mexico coming through where you have hundreds of thousands of people plowing through through the Mexican border, making their way up through Mexico to get to our southern border, in the hopes of getting here before the remain in Mexico.
Why
policy
isn't
goes
Mexico
into
just
effect.
stopping that? Like,
Well,
why-
they can't.
It's overwhelming. And also, do you remember they're trying to fight it on two borders, the Central America side of that border with Central America.
you would think that border
and
would
then
be tight,
it's
right?
not-
The
it's
Central
not at
American
all.
border, you would think
Well,
that would
and
be
it's
tight.
not only that; it's
because
just,
they don't want a bunch of migrants
But it's-
coming into their country.
Well, but it's not only the land border, but it's also the fact of how much coastal area
Yeah,
they have
right,
to cover.
right.
And so all it takes is a quick little boat
And the
jaunt.
cartels own the
know.
northern part of the country. So
Right.
the government has no control. Once they get up north, it's like cartels.
And then
Well-
you have Mexicans in the border area complaining to the government that they don't want these people at their beaches and everything else in
Yeah.
Tijuana and some of the other places that they are there.
Right.
And so
Well,
people
and-
get mad at that.
And this administration has not only demoralized, but is also basically handcuffed to an extent the Custom
Yeah.
Border Patrol.
Yeah.
What do you do if you're a border patrol?
You know, and strip them of their horses, right? Because of the whole horse debacle and supposedly them
Right.
whipping them when that's already been proven. You know that
Right,
was wrong.
right.
You know, so I mean, the Mexican government, to be quite honest, has tried to do their best to be a good partner in this.
Yeah.
You know, but again, as much as you want to believe that they're making an effort to stop this, the truth of the matter is that there's also so much corruption in the Mexican government,
Right.
and along the Mexican border that they don't have the resources to stop any of this. Were you able to find that poll? All right, let's go ahead and see if we can pull that up here.
I have this crazy idea. Like, what if there was just like a wall that was like separating our countries?
So
There we
it's
go.
Just a wall.
it's a fascinating. So yeah,
I wonder what that would do.
so those numbers are at the moment
just a wall. What if
550.
we just had a wall?
But that's also
separating
but that
the
doesn't work either. The wall itself, and let's be completely honest. Yes, it's a deterrent,
Well, look,
but it doesn't work completely.
Well, Trump's wall. I mean, people were jumping it.
Nothing.
People
works
were
no-
jumping.
People
the
got
wall.
out of Alcatraz, bro. Nothing's
Yeah.
100%.
No, of course not.
So
Nothing's
so
100%.
the 558 indicates that approval of
538.
538, sorry, 43.6, disapproval at 50.6. The Telegraph says it's at 43% as well.
43.6.
Some of the other ones are saying it's as low as
well,
39%.
Yeah, and this is an average of all polls. I mean,
Correct.
538 is by far, I would say, the most trusted when it comes to doing this kind of math. By the way, side note, if you don't know what the 538 number is,
The
do you know
Bush
what-
election.
That's right.
Bush Gore
yeah.
election, yeah.
So, but
538 votes, yeah.
I mean, I don't see how they win midterms. I don't see, actually, one of the things I wanted to touch on at the end of the show is I don't see how they win Virginia next week.
That's going to be, I think we need to have a separate conversation about that because that is.
Are
gonna
they
be-
doing mail-in voting? One question. Are they doing mail-in
That's a
voting?
good question. I don't know.
If they're
I'll have to
doing
find
mail-in
out.
voting, then
Somebody in
I
the
wouldn't-
comment section can find out for us.
Hector,
if they're
find out
doing
mail-in
if they're
voting.
doing mail-in voting,
I'll say
I
this
would-
though: no matter what kind of, we have now seen how low the Democrats will go in harvesting votes.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to go to that direction, we have
Bro,
to. We have to go the
They've
same
been
way.
doing this since the 1920s,
Yeah,
bro. They're
but now
pros at
with the
this.
1920, calm down with that. But I will say,
This is how Chicago.
also-
this
but-
is just what they do in Pennsylvania and Chicago. Like this is just what they do.
yeah, but they're now doing it in red states. They're
They
not
do this
just
in
doing
their
this
own.
in the
Oh no,
votes.
I know. I'm just saying. People act like it's so surprising that Democrats harvest votes. This is how they control their own primaries. They do this to
Oh,
themselves.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
They do this to
Yeah.
themselves in Pennsylvania,
Chicago,
in Philly,
St. Louis.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
Exactly. All the unions. Are you kidding me? The unions literally control the Democratic primary process.
but that was meant for local politics.
I know,
That
I'm
was the
just
reason.
saying,
And
they cheat themselves.
But now it's
Why
on
would
a
you not
state.
think?
Now it's on a state and national, not say national
Yeah.
level.
Well,
but
yeah.
we're at a point to where the laws either need to change or we need to be doing the same thing. Because until the laws change,
Well,
you
nothing's
cannot
changed.
harvest.
No laws have changed.
No, there are some states that say you're not allowed to harvest. There
And
are
the
some
laws
states that say
weren't
you
followed
cannot.
anyway. Well,
Yeah, but
what's
then
the
you have
point in laws?
California.
The laws were
What's the
changed.
point in
the
laws.
were changed.
Laws weren't followed anyway.
Laws were
and-
changed to better implement. And again, this is by Republican.
Well, you have California
legislators.
that has instituted mail-in voting now as a confirmed
That's it.
permanent way of voting.
That's it. It's over.
Yeah, but California was always over. That's not the. We're never going to win California in regards to that. It's just there are too many
but there's
people
still
living
some
in the-
Republican areas of California.
But again, the mail-in ballot situation, which again is just all disclosure, is just allowing voters to be able to have more opportunities to mail in their ballots. And at the end of the day, if we don't have the numbers in registered voters to be able to make a difference, then there's nothing we're ever going to be able to do. Democrats are always going to find a way to beat the system somehow. Republicans, there's no chance if we don't have some form of edge when it comes to the voter numbers. Now, with these new polls, independents have fallen off a cliff from 53% supporting the president to in the high 20s.
Yeah,
It's insane.
No,
how many
I heard
independents
I
lost.
heard mid-20s. I go, but one of the other things that I wanted to touch on, not only in regards to elections, but also really what's happening, the realignment of this country, because what we're going to see is a huge shift over the next couple cycles. Because of the people who have moved to red states, left blue states, right, that sort of thing. Right now, there was a huge demonstration in New York City by the New York unions of the police and firefighters who are
Against the mandate?
against the vaccine mandate. Okay, so this has become that much of a polarizing issue where I think it could begin to swing elections.
And they allowed it to because they didn't give any room whatsoever when it came to the mandate. You're firing nurses now when you said that they were heroes 6 months ago and they were willing to be in
working without proper PPE.
Exactly. And
without
again,
a vaccine.
people see this. Oh wow, you're firing my aunt, you're firing my wife because she just doesn't feel comfortable.
Well, and you've got Governor DeSantis saying, "Hey, come to Florida. We need police officers.
poaching
We
them.
need firefighters. We'll
and they're
give you a
coming.
bonus."
And they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane how many people. And again, this goes into a further situation when it comes to the housing market and everything else. But the amount of people that keep on moving to the state and to Texas and other red states is mind-blowing because now it's either we're draining
Well,
from
the
the
country's
north.
just becoming more polarized. Just
And I
like
think
our
that might be the
politics.
situation.
I, mean,
I was
red
afraid-
states are becoming redder, blue states are becoming
I was
bluer.
very afraid thinking that we were going to get a lot more Democrats when it came to the influx. However, I don't see it anymore like that. I see a lot more. I mean,
Republicans are fleeing.
We were at the gun show in Hillsborough County last weekend, and we went and we got our concealed carry and everything else, and we're just walking around, and the amount of out of state license plates on these cars is phenomenal. It's insane how many people are coming, and they're registering.
And I'm seeing a lot of California plates.
Sherry Dunham, you're doing a great job, by the way, when it comes to
Shout out
the.
to Sherry.
Oh yeah, she's doing a phenomenal job. But you keep on seeing this, and I don't feel afraid anymore that Democrats are going to overwhelm us.
I like some of the like. Some of the things that you can sense in politics that you can't see in the data.
Yeah.
And here's one of them. So I'm at a college football game a few weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. And the F Joe Biden starts happening.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brandon.
Now here's the thing. Here's why. Okay, it's an SEC football game in a red state. Okay, so somebody might dismiss that and say, "Oh, big deal. It's a red state." No. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
Here's why it stood out to me. It started in the student section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When 18 to 22-year-old college students are not following along so well with the Democratic Party, or at least keeping their mouths shut about it.
Yeah.
When they're anti-Democratic Party president, you got a problem.
Yep.
If you're Democrats, if you're losing kids, the 18 to 22-year-olds, you got a real problem in electoral politics.
And that's why I was saying I think Biden is going to accomplish what Trump couldn't, which was breeding the next generation of conservatives,
right?
Much like in the way that Reagan did.
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't have that kind of a catalyst figure. I think if Trump again had been more of a positive person, okay, to kind of put it lightly, that was more endearing to people, I think he would have brought tons of people into the party. And he did. But again, he didn't really appeal to the younger generation in that way. Now he did appeal to some because he was frank and he was very honest and straightforward about the way he said things.
Yeah.
But again, like his demeanor was just not one that was attractive to a lot of young people.
Right.
I think that Biden is truly, again, especially as these kids are looking at the next 3 to 4 years and being like, oh my God, we got to put up with this guy for another 3 years. I'm going to be graduating from school. They're looking at the inflation rate. They're looking at the cost of living.
I can't afford a house. I can't afford a car.
Yeah.
We're not even we're not even a year in.
Yeah.
We're not even a year in.
That's
Inflation is going to jump into 5 to 6%. You have Janet
Oh,
Yellen.
no, you said.
You have Janet Yellen.
You said a few months ago.
You want to have this conversation? I will have
there
this
was
conversation.
no inflation, just transitory. Oh, COVID. Meanwhile,
Do you know how
there's
much wood?
ships
Do you know
in
how
the
much
water.
wood? You know how much wood costs now at Home Depot?
I haven't been recently. I already bought all
It
my
don't
wood.
cost you $4,000 anymore.
Yeah, now that I already bought all the wood I needed for my shed at the height
Well,
of the
you
market.
and every other American was building their she sheds outside.
Well,
So-
we're looking at $4 a gallon in gas.
Yeah, because you cancel pipelines
Sure,
and you
right.
stop drilling and you force more economic pacts. You tell them that they're going to get carbon tax and everything else. You push and you push and you push, and you allow for other countries to build.
I
their
think it was the
pipelines.
perfect storm. I think it
is
was
definitely
part of it
perfect
was
storm.
manipulated, part of it was unintentional.
I think the majority of it, I think a lot of it is intentional on their purpose to be intentional. Because when you have the press secretary talking about, well, you guys just have to deal with it for climate change.
Right.
You're gonna tell a single mother of 2-3 kids that's working
These people are
9 to
delusional,
5,
dude.
and
Climate
they
change
see,
is not
and they
affect
see
my life.
and there's so-
$4 a gallon.
And they're so disconnected from the average person. I mean, for Psaki to go up there and talking about, the cargo ships and all this stuff
Yeah,
being delayed.
yeah,
and go,
yeah.
Oh, sorry that you're going to have to wait for your treadmill.
yeah, she's
You know,
so.
Yeah,
it's like-
you're gonna have to wait for your treadmill. Give me,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, no, lady, I can't find toilet paper at Costco.
no.
She's becoming such a Karen. She's
No,
becoming such a Karen.
my
No,
wife.
we will not represent.
My wife. We order different. Like we order groceries from like Publix, Costco membership, and then I think she'll pick up some things at Walmart. I'm not sure. And she
What's
has these
Walmart?
orders that she places, right? And I'll go to the refrigerator and I'll be like, where's the yogurt? Like, why isn't it? Oh, they were out. Or where's the cheese sticks?
Yep.
Like, oh, well, they were out this week. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, never in my lifetime has the grocery store really been out of really anything. Like,
Yeah.
and if they are out, it's like it's coming tomorrow.
It better be,
Like, it's not-
or there's a hurricane coming tomorrow.
yeah, like when is the grocery store just out of like numerous items? Like that's Russia, dude.
I don't shop, so I have no idea
Oh,
what you guys are
God.
talking about.
All right, I got H.W. Bush over here talking about $3 for a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
They sell milk by the gallon.
No, it's plastic bags like they do in the Dominican Republic.
No, but to your point though, Johnny. You just go to a gas station, ask somebody, hey, like, what's your top 3 concerns? Just go talk to, let's say, some woman that's got a kid with her. What's your top 3 concerns? The cost of groceries are going up.
Yep.
Gas obviously is going up. We're staying here at a gas station, and they're going to mention something else like probably school closures. What's going on? I can't keep track of my kids in daycare because of all the back and forth or whatever. Like, but why is that their concern? Because that's like real life.
Yeah.
No one is concerned about freaking some European forum on climate change.
Right. No. Yeah.
It just has nothing to do
And
with
you're gonna,
people's
yeah, and
real
you're going to
lives.
keep on seeing people start to reject it more and more and more because it's going to start affecting their day to day, and it'll start affecting their pocketbook. I mean, the reason why we have almost, I think now it's over 100 ships waiting in the Pacific is because there's no longer one bottleneck. The entire
Port
system
Miami.
is bottlenecked because
Port Jacksonville.
Well, one, it costs too much to have them
why-
shipped
why
around through
not?
Panama, and two,
yeah.
what's happening now? I think we have up to 30 ships outside of Savannah, which is also the Atlantic version of what's happening now, and those ships can kind of get in. But again, once those ships go into the port, that's
Yeah,
only one thing. Then you have to find a trucker to drive them
Yeah,
around.
you gotta get 'em out
and
there.
on the
If I were Governor DeSantis, I'd be figuring out how to destroy the Skyway Bridge so we can get bigger ships into the port of Tampa.
In a heartbeat.
Because that's really that's our biggest Achilles heel.
Yes.
I mean, is that
we can't
bridge.
take the we can't take the Supermax ships.
How much bigger can that bridge get, dude? If okay, the what it's trying to connect is only so far,
Right.
So, right. So if you make the bridge higher, that means it's going to be steeper.
No.
If that bridge is steeper than it is, like I'm not driving on
So
it.
the
No, see, what they
best,
should
the best
have done-
example,
That-
the best example I've seen so far is either you cut the front of it or the back or the end
You
of
have
it.
to extend it.
No, not even extending it. You literally just create a second bridge to allow for those particular ships to be able to go around it, and just because again, not every ship needs to be able to.
Right.
We're
What?
talking about one kind of
a
ship.
drawbridge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Either on the
But
I
I've
got
heard that
you,
the
I got you,
original,
I got
the
you.
original
I got
idea
you.
should have been, which was the more expensive idea, but I think it would have been the more profitable idea, which was to build the tunnel. And they should have just gone
right,
underground.
right,
They should have just gone
right.
underground and
Yeah.
built the tunnel. But-
tunnels in
All right.
Florida don't work though. That's one of the bigger problems here. There's not many tunnels in Florida.
yeah, but we're already at sea level. Why
no,
wouldn't
you
they
can,
work?
No, you can build a. Yeah. Why
There's not
wouldn't it?
many tunnels. I don't know
No,
why
I hear what
Florida's
you're
very.
saying, but why wouldn't it?
there's no what's it called? What do the northern people have in their homes? They don't have what
Heating oil?
basements.
What are we talking about?
Like
Basement.
there are not many.
Right, because they're at sea level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're building a tunnel that's underwater,
I'm just saying, Floridians don't understand going underwater.
all right, we'll have to talk to an engineer. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. Jonny Torres, Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker, bringing the show in for a closing as we bring up tonight's final topic, the H-wRECk, as some of us like to call it. That would be the Hillsborough County Republican Executive Committee, which we like to opine on here quite frequently, as hyper-local as it is. But they were recently reprimanded by the Republican Party of Florida.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly. A very well documented letter that went out, and they are choosing to ignore it and interpret it in their own way, and they continue to do the things that got them in trouble in the first place, namely by voting on a resolution on the very first meeting that they've had since they received this letter, calling for an audit of the presidential elections. Now, if you watch Bay News 9, you'll be able to catch me on there with Mitch Perry talking about this very issue. And I'll just, to kick off the topic, I'll just say what I said to Mitch, which was, the Hillsborough County Republican Party's responsibility is to win local elections. We have been doing the opposite of that at every level: city elections, county elections, state legislature, state senate. Okay, we've been losing seats. We've not been gaining seats. And so the presidential election to them should be completely irrelevant. It is not within their responsibility to worry about the outcome of the election. And there's no actual evidence, there's no tangible evidence to show that there should be a recall in the first place. And so there's these conspiracy theories, and I'd love for them to chime in and call in, whether it be through Clubhouse or join us here on the podcast one of these days. They're trying to claim that there's some marketing company that got a grant to do a get out to vote campaign, and it only went to Democrats. Well, show the evidence, spread it around, get it into everybody's hands. But they're, oh no, we submitted it to the leadership of the Republican Executive Committee, so that they could bolster this resolution. These resolutions don't accomplish anything, and that's what some of these people in this organization don't understand. That nobody cares about your resolution. Nobody cares about how you feel about the fact that you lost another election, like we have been for the past 6 years.
Do you think that if things were going better with the actual mission of the local party, which is to win local elections, do you think if that was doing better, that maybe this wouldn't be such a big deal?
No,
Because I view these resolutions as
because Sarasota County,
I-
which again is a very red county,
right.
and they continue to win their elections. They continue to have a stronghold, not in the city, but I believe they have a stronghold in the county, at the county level, and the state chairman was also
Right.
the county chairman.
I mean, to your point, right.
and if this is my point, if the state chairman of the Republican Party is not calling for an audit of the presidential election here in Florida,
Right.
why is Hillsborough County doing it?
Because that resolution, this is just my opinion, okay? Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. I think it's just it motivates the base. I think it motivates some
What
of
base?
the base of the the activists. I think.
But if
I think
they're already in the room, how much more motivated do they need to be?
I think they're trying to send the message that, hey, we're concerned about election integrity, so we're going to do this resolution, and everybody's like, yeah. And yeah, we want voter integrity. I mean, we all want voter integrity, but like you said, we didn't really have a problem in Florida.
Yes, that was my other point.
In fact, Florida has 2 time zones, and
that was my other point.
we have 10 o'clock. Yeah, we have two time zones, and by really 9 p.m. we actually know the results. The media just won't report it, and by 10 p.m. it's like, okay, media, like you can really report now, and they just don't want to because it's going the wrong way for them. Yeah. So,
and what I think this resolution really is the Hillsborough County Republican Party trying to absolve itself of the fact that they continue to lose elections.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Scott Levinson lost by less than, what, 200 votes?
1,500 votes.
1,500 votes? Anyways, it was a close race.
Yeah, that's for a county commission race. That's not a lot of votes. Yeah.
Guess who lost that race? The Hillsborough County Republican Party.
Right.
It wasn't because of the presidential election.
We could have drummed
we
could have drummed up 1,500 votes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a competition that went largely ignored by this very organization. And
What's the name?
And again, they continue.
Well,
what they can forget is that their responsibility is not to the presidential campaign or the congressional campaigns, because they love getting excited about Congressional District 14. By the way, you're all going to lose, okay? And they continue to get obsessed with races that are not their responsibility.
And we finally have someone that's a legitimate Republican candidate that can be in that race. And at the end of the day, he's a great guy. I've met him. I think he's going to be great. He won't win in that district because we don't have the numbers to win in that district.
We're going to try to have him on soon in some capacity.
And that's my biggest issue. And again, what Mr. Wicker is saying is correct, that they're trying to beef up the base and everything else. But that makes you sound like we're a bunch of high schoolers going to a football game.
Right.
And you're just cheerleading the local team, that you're not growing the team, you're not doing anything.
It's like going to a football game and then saying that you lost because of the referees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what they're doing. No, you lost because you suck.
I have a huge problem. That room.
I think if we were being successful, a lot of this stuff just wouldn't matter. But because we're not really being that successful at a local level, it just magnifies everything else. Then becomes a distraction, because it's like, why are you doing this when that is not part of winning a local county commission?
Well, Joe, how many cycles do we need to lose before we change the team? Honestly, how many cycles do we need to lose before we change the coach? How many?
That's the thing.
Have made my
at every.
I've went direct to leadership in the local
at every
party.
Opportunity where this individual who's in charge of the organization was to be held accountable, whether it was for losing campaigns or whether it was for things that he's done and said and posted on social media, he refuses to hold himself accountable. They refuse to hold him accountable, okay? Because he always wants to blame somebody else.
Okay,
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to say that he's the reason that we lost another county commission seat. He doesn't want to say that he's the reason that we continue to lose state house seats. Okay, what he does want to do is blame the media, okay, because of the media and this and this and this and that. No, you lost it because you're not allocating your resources correctly.
Correct.
And because you're distracting yourself with things that do not pertain to you.
Yeah, sometimes I think organizations, and I'm thinking politics and business, sometimes you have ideas. Some of them are good, some of them are not, and you can really be so invested in what you think you need to do that you just can't see clearly the actual results. And that's why I've said, look, even you use a sports analogy, right?
Yeah.
Even great coaches that have good records in the past, at a certain point when you're losing too much, the university says, guys, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to take your name off the wall. We're not trying to trash you. We're just saying it's time for a change.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
That's not even a problem. In fact, good leaders develop subordinate leaders in preparation
Correct.
for you to
Yeah,
step
correct.
aside and let someone come in, if for no other reason than human nature is for us to get a little stale.
Yeah, look, at some point, Bobby Bowden started losing games.
Right,
A
right.
lot of games.
Yeah.
Right.
At some point, Jimmy Johnson started
Right.
losing a lot of
Yeah.
games.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And these are some of the
Right.
best coaches we've ever seen in their sport.
Right. So
Okay?
I mean, if I was the chairman of the Hillsborough County Republican Party, in the back of my mind, I know that, say, call it 3 years or something, right? Like give yourself a good run or something.
Right.
3, definitely like 5 years or something like that. Like in the back of my mind, it's like I need to have an exit strategy. In 5 years, there needs to be somebody that's been here and that understands the different things that are going on and that knows the right people and wants to do the job, that's ready to step up, and you pass the torch. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And in fact, organizations do better when leaders have succession plans and it's known, and you get to leave on your own terms. What's going to happen with us, one way or another, right? Someone's going to get removed. Someone's going to lose an election, right? We're going to have elections. The board's going to get, people are going to lose their election seats or whatever. Things are going to happen. And even if it's a good thing long term, initially it's going to look like turmoil. It's going to feel like turmoil. And you're going to have a rebuilding period. I mean, there's going to be some challenges associated with any change that's made.
And what amuses me about the group that is, fervently behind this resolution is that you have to look at the big picture. What just happened? We saw Trump's lawyers. These were supposedly some of the best lawyers in the country go from state to state and lose from state to state,
Right, right.
challenging the outcome of this election.
right.
Do you think they give a shit what the Hillsborough County Republican Party thinks?
Right.
You're going to tell me that the Hillsborough County Republican Party has the smoking gun, to why the presidential elections went the way they did?
Also, you're going to embarrass our governor, and you're going to embarrass every high-ranking Republican in this state by doing that. My biggest gripe for this is that we're the resolution named a particular politician that's not even a delegate of the Hillsborough County delegation.
Right.
Like, you're not even representing the region. The region,
Right.
Not even the county, the region, and yet you're on a resolution from Hillsborough County. That makes absolutely no sense. That tells me
who was on it. That
Anthony
Sabatini.
Sabatini.
Because they get worked up around these big personality individuals who like to throw red meat at their audiences.
But that's the thing. We're pushing the party further and further to the right. And again, people forget. And no, smart people understand that Hillsborough County is purple, pushing to blue, because you do not have a leadership that understands where we are as a county. Whereas you keep on feeding these individuals red meat every single time, cheerleading like it's a sports team. You do nothing but make it more and more difficult to be able to build a base in Hillsborough County. Yes, you're going to have 200 people there, but you're only going to represent 20% of the party.
Yeah, Governor DeSantis is apparently calling for a special session about these vaccine mandates from employers here in the state of Florida. And guess who's taking credit?
Oh my gosh! That
Yeah.
pissed me off so
Well, let
much.
me ask you something. Okay, again, I feel like I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but
Which is fine. That's
but,
part of
what
the
we're
dynamic
here
of the
for.
okay,
show.
was the governor always going to do the special session? And if not, was there political pressure that was created by certain very vocal individuals that eventually got it to the point to where this is a bad comparison, but like,
and I'll just stop you
I know
right
where you're
there.
going. Yeah, I
I'm
know
gonna
where
say
you're
no.
going.
I think the political pressure came from Southwest Airlines, came from Delta
Okay,
Airlines,
okay,
came from-
okay.
It definitely
came
did not
from-
come from Sabatini.
Okay.
came from
so-
Disney. It came from
So you think corporations said we need an out, like we need you to help us by.
Oh
by
no,
ma-
I just think he looked at what they were doing or the trend that was happening
Okay.
nationally.
You're
And-
thinking that actually just the way they were being aggressive with it, he looked at it like we got to do something to stop it across the board.
Of course.
And the only way you can do that is
or you're going to have
through-
massive
yeah.
firings across the state.
Yeah, because
Right.
what's happening
Okay.
now,
So
the
it's to
special
save jobs, prevent the unemployment rolls from going up, and
Right.
just basically shut this down and prevent the disruption.
Yeah,
from
when
it,
again we've seen that these types of mandates do
were we going to have?
zero
Were
for
we?
our caseloads.
I know. I don't agree with the government mandates, but were we going to have mass firings? Because, see, my whole hope this whole time was that the people would realize their power and that they would walk off.
Well,
basically.
they are. I mean,
are they really?
Oh yeah. Well, look at what's happening in New York. Again, look what's happened. Look what happened.
Those are unions.
Southwest
Those are unions,
Airlines.
and I
look
would
what happened with Delta.
I would
look
set
what happened.
the unions to the side. What is
Democrats-
wait a minute.
Democrats aren't
Isn't-
gonna do
wait a
that.
minute.
Democrats
whoa,
aren't
whoa, whoa,
doing
whoa. Isn't Delta? I didn't look at it before I came in here, but Delta was going to start charging, I think, extra on your insurance premium. So no, they don't have a mandate, but you're going to pay like an extra $200 a month. I mean, which is basically a mandate because you're forcing people financially, to do something they otherwise wouldn't do. So
I mean, the part about
they're
that,
not mandating it, but they're just creating financial penalties for their employees.
It was put in the ether of something that they might do. Which again, Delta and United are backing off on their statements because they saw what happened in Southwest. Southwest was,
but they're still going to charge you. They're just going to charge your insurance.
What I'm saying to you is
That's
that they're
being proposed.
backing.
I don't think that's
that's
been
not. Yeah,
enacted.
it was just thrown out there in the ether as a potential.
Especially when you're talking
I
about-
thought they had already executed on this.
No,
I thought
especially when
some
you're
of these
talking
companies
about-
have already executed on
No,
this.
the pilots union would have to negotiate and agree to that, and I doubt that's
One of
gonna
the few
fly.
benefits of the unions is that you have to go through a lot
I
of
know,
steps.
isn't
to be
it
able to do
crazy?
something like
Isn't it crazy how honestly it's the unions that have been able to stop this?
Yeah.
Because they negotiate these employment contracts, and I guess they're able. I don't know. I guess they're able to stand up to it. It's crazy. It's crazy that the unions are the ones that are able to make something happen here for a change.
Well, and we're seeing it, again, especially with firefighters, first responders, police officers. We're seeing, where was it in Seattle? It was somewhere out west where there was like 700 of them or something that went and basically all resigned on the same
like
day.
a mining company, something like that.
No, but these were first responders.
Okay.
That went and all resigned
Well,
on the same day
Washington
because
State's
of the,
football team lost. They had to fire
the
their
coach.
head
Yeah,
coach,
right.
and which this is where I thought it was valuable. It wasn't just the head coach. They had to get rid of three or four additional assistants, and these were not like equipment guys or analysts. These were like, the quarterback coach, like, running back. Like, these were legit assistant positions that you don't want to lose. And they gave up 4 coaches. I think they lost.
Wow.
They fired them. They had
and
to.
that's the thing. To what extent?
And they lost. I think Washington State lost their game, and I was excited about that. I wanted them to lose.
And the greater message here is that is it really worth it when we're looking at the mortality rate, when we're looking at the infection rate, when we're looking at really now the fact that there is a vaccine, we do have effective treatments, right? We're on the right side of this.
Yeah.
Is it worth putting people through all this?
I think if
Yes, because if
the-
you're going to allow Fauci to lie and be that person that keeps on building this that theory of as long as there's panic, as long as there's chaos, Democrats are loving what's happening because they're putting pressure on society to do what they want to do.
No, if you're a Republican, you should be loving what's happening because all the Democrats are doing is pushing moderates and people that lean Democrat. All they're doing is pushing them to the Republican corner. Right. I mean, you've got young people, you've got and I mean, what was it? Nicki Minaj, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
that was
Nicki
insane.
Minaj is like out there, like, dude, these people are getting red pilled.
Well, Kylie
These
Irving,
people are taking red
Kyrie
pills.
Irving, in the NBA,
All over.
Yeah, and here's the thing: he had a platform because he's rich and famous. But what he said is what everyone's been saying.
Right, yeah,
He didn't
exactly.
say anything that was like a big, and everybody was like, "Oh, see, look, here's a young man. He's making a well thought out case." I'm like, dude, all he's saying is what everyone that works at your company's been saying,
right?
Which is, I'm weighing the risks, I'm making decisions in a logical manner, and this is what I've decided with my doctor to go with for right now.
What they're not
That's
counting
what
on,
everybody's been
especially in this job market, is that those people there's going to be a competitive battle here over, again, the people who are being fired or resigning because of these mandates, and the people who are willing to hire them because they don't have these mandates. And I think the people that don't have these mandates and allow for individual choice are going to prosper because they're going to be picking up a lot of talent.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see some. Have you seen any job postings? You're not going to see this. I'm not going to see this in my industry, and I can't do it either. But, like, do you think there'll be some job postings where people are like, no vaccine required, like as a headline.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like as a headline.
I'm going to go ahead and look into it, but I wouldn't.
You know what I'm
be surprised if we're
saying?
already
Like,
seeing
well,
that,
because
yeah.
what you're saying, employers that are out there struggling to get people,
Yeah.
they're looking for a competitive advantage. Well, what's your competitive advantage right now? All things being equal,
Yeah.
if you can't pay more, you say we don't have a mandate, and then you start publicizing that and letting people know, hey, if you apply for this job,
Yeah. Right.
Democrats' heads are going to explode when that starts happening.
Well,
mean,
I bet
they
Indeed
did
and all
it-
them
they
shut
did it
down
to
the ads.
Irish,
I bet the ads
and
get shut down.
They did it to other genders and other populations when they talk about like job openings, except for the Jews or except for the
Yeah.
Irish and everything else. And you're gonna have it to where except
Irish
for-
need not apply.
yeah,
Italians need not apply.
except
We
for
used
the
that,
unvaxxed. It's
Yeah.
going to get to that point.
and that was happening in New York, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's insane. I will say this though, it's one, Frank. Fred, I apologize that we went so off tangent in this last one, but I will try to bring it back to what's going on with the H-wRECk. Is that they have less than 10 days to show that they have made ample steps in accordance to the 5 points that were issued by the RPOF.
Yeah.
And again, the meeting 2 weeks ago was a pure example of how chaotic they are, and they received the letter on the 4th.
Yep.
And they had plenty of time. On the 4th, so they had plenty of time to figure out everything going on. The resolution that was passed, and I'm using air quotes because I am of the belief that it was done incorrectly,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to go any further to that one. But I think there's so much chaos that they've caused and so many problems that again you don't even know why people are sitting on the front table. It's an absolute it's a shit show.
And again, why? At this
Well, that's-
point,
yeah,
as Hillary
yeah.
said, why does it matter?
At this point, what difference does it make?
What difference
well,
does it
so,
make? Yes.
So
'Cause they've
I
made
was
it-
looking
they've made it
forward. I was looking forward to hearing the candidates, and I had something else I had to get back home to or whatever. I forget what it was now. It's probably because I have a life and have a wife and 3 kids and a business, but I couldn't stay beyond 8:30.
Yeah.
The meeting's supposed to go from 7 to 8:30. You got social hour for 6 to 7. You've got the meeting from 7 to 7:30. That's an hour and a half. You got to be able. 7 to 8:30. Okay, I couldn't stay any later. I had to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see the candidates and listen to these candidates speak. And the whole freaking meeting got taken over by the resolution that doesn't end up mattering and only got us a negative blurb in the paper.
Right.
And so so I didn't like seeing it because I didn't think it was necessary, and it obviously became a controversy, and they should have known that would have become a controversy. So they just had it on the agenda like they were just going to put it up there, and bam, everybody's going to be like, yay, and they're going to vote for it, and we're going to move on.
Well, that's what happens
And the
when
whole meeting became about
That's
this
what
stupid
happens.
thing.
That's what happens when you email the language
At the
of-
last minute, yeah.
3
Well, not
days
only
prior
that,
to the meeting.
That's the problem. That's how myopic they are. They genuinely think that everybody agrees with everything they do.
But the one at first when it came out, I thought, because I had only seen the letter that went out, whatever we're calling the letter from RPOF, I don't know. When I read that, I read each point, and I initially thought, wait a minute, didn't they say no resolutions, and we're turning right around to having a resolution? But then when I went back and read it, I realized it was resolutions against party members.
Yeah. Right.
So they weren't breaking any bylaws, or they weren't doing anything wrong by having it per
having
se.
the resolution itself is not the problem. The
Right.
way that they couldn't even conduct the meeting, they didn't even have pieces of paper
But
for
these
people to vote.
resolutions also don't accomplish anything.
Right, but
Again,
also
if we're gonna give them the red meat, give them the red meat. At the end of the day, I was like, if you guys are gonna pass it, at least let it be somewhat factual of what's happening. Don't throw in words that
I
you
don't care.
can't
Bring in all the speakers you want to talk about how the election was stolen or not stolen or whatever.
There's one
and
last
get
thing
people
that-
worked up about why they need to be more
again,
involved.
this is
but to pass a resolution and to cause again a negative story in the media and completely distract from what they should be focusing on is completely unnecessary.
I'll say this again: when you can't even conduct a particular meeting, and you don't even have the basics to throw a meeting together, you don't have the requirements that you govern yourself with to be able to run the meeting, and at the end of the day, you probably don't even know what amount of votes you needed to be able to pass the resolution. Because if you go in the model constitution, it's not 50% plus 1; it is 2/3. And I'll tell you right now, if I remember the numbers correctly, it was not 2/3.
They didn't have 2/3,
but yet they still think they passed the resolution.
and
they have no idea how
They
to
don't
run,
count.
Right.
but they
Well,
don't know how
but
to run
somebody-
a meeting.
Victory even when they don't
but
have one.
somebody would have had to have make a motion to do a roll call vote, and count everyone, and they didn't. It was by a show of hands, essentially.
Because they know they don't have the votes.
It was a show of hands.
They didn't want to do the.
But they
the
do
roll.
that all
They didn't
the
want to do
time.
roll call.
One last thing. Well, somebody should have called the motion, and I'm just sitting here thinking about it. But
It doesn't matter with the motion.
But one of the thing that I noticed. What's that?
No, scoot in a little bit.
Oh,
You're
okay.
cut off.
Being cut off.
I'm being cut off. Gotcha. Okay, what's up, Anibal?
Hey.
One thing that I actually noticed that night was there were so many. Now, I hadn't been to a couple meetings. Okay, so I acknowledge that I missed a few meetings, but I've been a member of the REC pretty much since 2009.
Yeah.
I think I took a year off or something since 2009, and there's been such high turnover. That when I was at the meeting this past week, yeah, there was a lot of people I know, and it's good to see the old faces or whatever, but there was a lot of people that I had never met in my entire life.
Right.
And I'm like, who are all these people? Now, I'm glad they're there. Like, these
very
are
happy they're there.
These are new people that are wanting to get involved. But the problem is that there was a guy sitting at my table who was just railing on Anibal. He didn't even know who Anibal was.
Right.
He didn't know who I was sitting at the table. He didn't know a lot of other people. And here's the thing. Here's my point. They're acting like we're outsiders. I'm like, bro, you're new.
Bro.
Like, you are not the insider. You are the outsider. Like,
Girl, I have not seen you at a voter registration form.
We've been at this. We've been at this for years. We've been at this for years. Most of us
Yep.
were in TBYR.
Yeah.
I mean, we were
Yeah.
kids. We were in our 20s and 30s. It's like we've been at this for years, and these people show up and they act like, oh, that guy's a rhino, this guy that, and this guy that. And I'm like, bro, you have never knocked a door.
Boo boo, is this your first Lincoln Day dinner? Because
Like,
if it is,
you
I
have
don't know
not-
who you are.
You have not knocked a door. I don't see. You have not knocked a door. I don't see any tennis shoes with the soles falling off.
Oh, my
I don't
gosh.
see any summer tan. I don't see that red face from July and August out there campaigning in Florida.
No clue.
What have you done?
I don't
You
know
show
you.
up here
I don't know
because you heard something was going to be done. And you act like you run the place,
Oh, my
and then they're
gosh.
calling out people that have been longtime activists, not just Republican Party members, but people that have done something in an
Exactly.
election. And that's the stuff that gets me fired up. You can tell I'm getting fired up. I don't appreciate it when people who have done nothing in politics, who've never done the hard work, who've never worked on a campaign,
Right.
who've never volunteered, who've never done any of that, come out and start acting like this is the way things are going to be.
Acting wild.
Yeah, when they don't even
wild.
understand, they don't even understand the bylaws. They don't even understand the mission of what it is. And essentially, and this I'm going to end it with this, as much as I love President Trump and appreciate what he did, the Hillsborough County Republican Party existed before Trump. It's going to exist
Yes.
after Trump.
Yes.
It is not a Trump club.
Right. Correct.
It's not a Trump club.
And if you want to
I mean,
join a Trump club, there are Trump clubs out there.
Absolutely,
There are.
and I fully support that, and I'm
Yeah.
all about that. And I mean, of course, I would want Trump to visit Hillsborough County, but he's not going to
No.
because
Nor
he doesn't
should he.
need because
Nor
he doesn't
should he.
need to come here. And I'm done.
I agree. I completely agree with Joe because at the end of the day, when you hear Rebecca DeBoer talk, you listen. When you hear Jeff
Yeah.
Lukens talk, you listen.
Some
when
of
you
these
hear
people have
Emerson
given
talk,
money.
you listen.
Right.
When you hear people from Sun City Center, and those people work in Sun City
Yeah.
Center, they are knocking doors. They are doing everything.
When Hung Mai got called an outsider,
My head blew up
when
I
Hung
heard
Mai
that.
got called an outsider, that's when I was like, I was like,
I'm
dude,
out.
you have no, y'all have
I'm
no
out.
idea
I
what you're
can't.
talking about. That dude literally escaped Vietnam.
Exactly.
Okay, back when it was, when
Yeah.
that was all going on. Dude literally built a boat
And you're talking
with his
shit?
brothers and had to smuggle gas, smuggle the engine parts.
You
built a
talking
boat to get
crazy.
out of Vietnam,
Crazy.
makes his way through Asia, through Europe or whatever, gets to the United States, gets his citizenship, is an engineer, and working with the county, giving of his time and money. The dude knows more about local Hillsborough politics than probably everybody in the room. But yet he's an outsider.
An outsider, someone that doesn't know what's happening.
It's disrespectful.
completely
It's
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
It's completely disrespectful.
That dude, it literally is living the American dream,
Right.
And you're calling
and
him
is
out?
a representation of what it means to be an American and more specifically to be a freedom-loving member of the Republican Party.
Yes.
And to act like, you know, he's an outsider, dude, it's offensive.
It's offensive. When Nancy Watkins won't even step in the door. When Nancy Watkins, a woman that's highly respected throughout the entire state.
Look, let's be clear. When elected officials won't even walk in the door.
When was the last time Jackie Toledo was in there? When was the last time Jamie Grant was in there?
Why?
Well, because
Why would they?
because now it's like
no
it
need
makes
to.
you
to get us insulted
because
Yeah.
of all the
attacked,
red
to
meat
get,
people
you know.
in there. All the red meat people. And you know what? I'm going to show up next week, next time also, because I'm going to keep on showing up because I'm a member, and I will keep on joining, keep on pushing people to join, because that's the only way you're going to change this. But at the end of the day, this will never change because they're practically bullies, and that's what's happening now.
Well, you've been bullying my show into running way over, so
Your face has been bullying me.
It's good.
And the producer, if you
For
keep
close.
on waving your hand one more time, woman.
All right. Thank you again, everybody, for watching the Yard Sign. Don't forget, you can catch the audio version of this very long program on our tech overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, Odyssey, and iHeartRadio. I'm Jonny Torres with Joe Wicker and Anibal David Cabrera. Very fun-filled show today. Plenty of topics to touch on. Without going into these topics, let's go ahead and talk about the one last thing. All right, mine's gonna be, and this is how we're gonna do it. You just say what it is, and you move on. You don't have to go into it. You don't have to explain it. All right. But we are definitely watching the Virginia governor's race. Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin up there. Of course, the Democrats trying to pin Youngkin as a Trump puppet. Which I think he has proven he is not. Although President Trump has supported him, and he has been focused on the issues. McAuliffe continues to be obsessed with Trump and trying to bring up negativity. Of course, McAuliffe, former governor and I think senator of the state, had a horrible run there, which is why he is virtually nobody right now, trying to regain his seat as governor. Much like, I know, and I went into the story, much like Charlie Crist.
Did I say anything?
Much like Charlie
Did
Crist
I
is
say
trying to do
anything?
here in Florida. So anyways, we'll be watching the election results next Tuesday on that. Joe Wicker.
Pass.
All right, I like it. Go.
Do you yield the floor?
I yield the floor.
Oh, and the time.
I yield the floor to the
Not the time.
right honorable gentleman from, where are you from?
Yeah.
Carrollwood? Tampa. From Tampa. I yield the floor to the right honorable gentleman from Tampa.
Well, thank you, Honorable Wicker.
Oh, boy.
I will say this, that my one thing is currently the Africa as a country,
Wow.
as a whole, as a continent.
quite a topic.
We're having huge issues, and Ethiopia is on the verge of another civil war with Tigray and other parts of Ethiopia starting to crumble. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it with a country, with a nation that has, I think, plus 100 different ethnic backgrounds. So it was already difficult that it was staying together. And there was a coup in Sudan, which is causing the U.S. to update their position when it comes to military dictatorships and possibly cut off 700 million. Hector, I'm glad that you were talking about that as well, because I was about to talk about that as in my point. So I will leave it at that. Africa turning into a huge mess.
Where'd you
Back to
learn
you,
that?
Johnny.
So
Where'd you
my-
learn that? Ted Lasso?
Yeah. So my one thing. So my one thing. I'm taking back my time. So my one thing is Janet Yellen
Oh, yeah.
saying that they're looking at taxing the rich. I don't even know what term they use anymore, but rich people on unrealized
Capital gains.
capital gains.
It's
Not that you've sold your stock
Right.
and you've made a profit.
Yeah.
But you currently, as of market close today, have a profit or something.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, without going all into it, that this is a bluff,
Yes.
so to speak. It's a
Okay.
bluff, right? Because if you think that you're going to be taxed on potential profits or whatever it is, then, and the stock market's been going up, you might go ahead and take some profits now.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go ahead and you might sell now before this happens. Take your profits, which generates taxable income that the federal government is going to get here in a few months when the year ends, right? But if people stay in this market and just keep buying and are not selling, because the market's going up, and they still believe that with all the liquidity in the market, that the market's going to continue going up. The government's not going to realize those taxes,
Right?
Because people aren't going to have a lot of profits to report. And so
Because it's all in the market.
Because it's in the market, because it's unrealized gains. And she's throwing this out there, which is absolutely an absurd idea, that you would tax unrealized capital. Because what do I do the following
It's
year?
fantasy.
Yeah, it's fantasy. What do you do the following year? Say, well, I now have unrealized losses. Like this is
It goes
absolute
nowhere.
fantasy. So I think she's bluffing to cause people to take profits and generate taxes.
Did you hear her at the end of that speech that you just quoted her as, saying that she believes that she's in control, the Fed is in control of inflation? Oh no, we have it. We have it under control. We have inflation under control.
Well, that's a fatal flaw. That's a no. You know what? That's just
arrogance. That's
That's
such arrogance.
No, that's human beings. That's the fatal flaw of human beings, thinking we can be our own gods, thinking that we can control everything. She doesn't believe in the invisible hand
Hence
of the market.
climate change.
Yeah,
Ugh.
she doesn't believe in the invisible hand of the market. She doesn't believe that these things come with consequences, and that's why you end up saying a stupid thing
such a stupid
like we
thing.
can we can control it. No, you
No, you can't.
All right. Well, on that note of stupid things, thank you so much for watching and listening to The Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. Jonny Torres, Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker. Thank you so much, guys, for another great show, even though we were all, trust me, today almost did not happen, but I'm glad it did. A great show all around. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all of our audio platforms that the tech overlords allow: Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, Odyssey, and iHeartRadio. And we'll see you back here next Monday. We may even do something around Virginia. We'll be talking about that, so we'll let you know. Be following us on social media for more details on that. Thank you so much, and we will see you back here next week. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.